Spoilers for The Little Mermaid and Mulan. So I've been reflecting a lot about the character work in the live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid recently, because I love the live-action version of Ariel that we had. And yeah, I know The Little Mermaid original animated version will always have its place, but after watching the live-action version, as many faults as it has, I just feel like it was able to show a more fully realized and more deeply explored Ariel than the animated version. And again, animated Ariel will always be iconic, but live-action Ariel just felt more real and relatable, and I just adored her. And while I think a huge part of that was the heart that Halle was able to bring to the role in her performance, I also think another huge part of it is the work that they put in the script for the movie, to emphasize more about her character's desire to know about the human world, to explore and discover. These were traits that were present in the animated version, but it felt just more pronounced and more highlighted in the live-action version. It really brought out more of Ariel's curiosity and wonder for the world. And as a result, even though I'm not a bright young woman sick of swimming ready to stand, what I mean is, even though I'm not a mermaid, and even though I don't really have that much of a curiosity or a strong desire to see the world, I really understand the character and I empathize with her even though I don't necessarily relate. I understand what she wants, and I admire the tenacity and the courage that she has to get the things that she wants, no matter the obstacles on her way. And I think they really did the character a service for that. And then that got me thinking, is there another Disney princess that I admire as much as I do Halle's Ariel? And yeah, Mulan, actually. If I had an OG favorite Disney princess, it would be Mulan, probably, because I wasn't really that into the Disney princesses, but Mulan was different, because Mulan had a kill count. So she was my entry point into the Disney princesses, and I really loved that she fought. She probably has the highest kill count of all the Disney princesses. Unless, of course, what if Elsa killed people in Arendelle when she froze the whole kingdom? I mean, it was a terrible winter, and, maybe their off-screen deaths they didn't show, because it was a Disney... Elsa's killed a lot of people in her winter. People must have died. I do wonder if Elsa's kill count could rival Mulan's. Anyway, this is not a video about the kill counts of Disney princesses. Moving on. Thinking about how much I loved the animated version of Mulan just made me remember how boring and weird live-action Mulan was. And in this video, I want to talk about that, where the live-action Little Mermaid succeeds at adapting the animated version, and where the live-action Mulan fails. And in reality, there are many ways this video could go, because there are many ways the live-action adaptation of Mulan fails. Fails not only as an adaptation, but just fails as a movie, or a piece of media in general. So to specify and narrow down the topic of this video, we will specifically be focusing on the main characters of each IP, because at the end of the day, they're the hearts of these movies, right? It's the Little Mermaid and Mulan. The Disney princesses are mostly the stars of their movies, except maybe Aurora. Baby Love was sleeping through most of her movie. If they ever do a live-action version of that, the actress will have the best time, because she'll just be asleep for most of the film. Girl boss. No, oh wait, they do. Elle Fanning is Aurora. Yeah, right, there is a live action. Yeah, she's good. I love her. Back to the topic. I want to talk about where the characterizations for live action Ariel succeeds and where live action Mulan fails. First, I want to emphasize the similarities between the two. They are both spirited young women who are limited by what their respective societies will allow them to do. Ariel wants to explore the world above. Father won't allow her because humans are dangerous and cruel. Mulan is a young woman whose traits don't necessarily fit in with what's expected of her in her time and place that she lives in. They're quite similar in that it's their societies both telling them they're inherently in the wrong for their qualities and their interests. They even both have scenes where they give up important things in pursuit of their goals. Ariel gives up her voice to gain legs and be in land, and Mulan gives up her normal life to gain the chance to protect her father and serve her country. Now that that's out of the way, let's go to the differences with how their respective live-action adaptations treat them. Let's start with faithfulness. While I don't think faithfulness to the original characterization is necessary for these live-action adaptations, I do think a large part of the target audiences for these films do. I wouldn't be mad if a live-action adaptation of an animated Disney princess film strayed a bit from the original, because I'm not that huge of a fan of them. But putting myself in the perspective of the Disney princess fans and thinking about it, I am a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, and I would just get really mad if a live-action version of Aang or Katara isn't faithful to the animated version. Which is why, even though I don't care for it personally in Disney princesses, I recognize that for the core audience, and for an adaptation, faithfulness is an important metric. So let's talk about it. Live-action Ariel is extremely and beautifully faithful to the animated Ariel. The essence, the spirit of Ariel is translated completely without missing anything in the live-action adaptation. It doesn't change anything about Ariel, it takes what the animated version has and just develops it and enriches it, so Ariel's traits are emphasized even more. She's curious, adventurous, she's courageous. The live action doesn't take away from any of that. Instead, it adds this scene in the marketplace where Ariel explores a bit of human culture, allowing for the movie to establish Ariel's curiosity and wonder for the human world even more. It adds the scene in Eric's library, so we see, again, even more of Ariel's desire for knowledge about the human world. This amount of faithfulness and respect for the character, unfortunately, is not something I can say I found in Mulan. There's nothing of the sort. I'm going to talk about something which I'm sure many people have talked about already, and that's the chi thing that they added in the live-action Mulan. Because what the hell? Really? Superpowers? Immediately that takes away a lot of Mulan's agency and her strength as a character from the animated version, because now she's not just a young lady who doesn't fit into society's expectations of her. She's not just a young lady who uses the traits people have always told her were undesirable to protect her father. She's not just the young hero who worked hard and used her wits to save her country. Now she's some sort of supernatural Superman who is just special because. The live-action adaptation of Mulan brushes off and minimizes a lot of the qualities that made Mulan a comprehensible, relatable, and tangible character. Like, they're still there. Mulan's creativity, her fire, her desire to protect her father, they're there, but they're like dampened and brushed off and diminished to make more screen time and explore further this new concept of chi, which... what the heck? Important character traits of Mulan, her courage, her fighting ability, the choices she made in the animated film, they're deeply diminished in the live-action version because it feels like her actions and choices were the direct result, not of her agency as a human with choices, but just because she was born with magic powers. Oh, she's a young girl who loves to run around with animals and chase chickens. Not because young girls can just be that, but because she's magic. Oh, she's a great warrior, not because people can just train hard and be determined to be great warriors. She's a great warrior because she's magic. Anything that we can credit to what makes Mulan's character special and interesting, her will, her commitment to training, ironically is diminished because they made her explicitly special. A magic chi wielder who can't fail. It's also kind of ironic, I think, that it's Ariel, the mermaid, who's inherently a magical character. You would imagine of the two, Ariel and Mulan, it'd be harder to make the half-fish magic creature living under the sea relatable. But nope, they had a young woman who was so relatable, but they said, no, we're not gonna have that. We're not gonna have a relatability in this film. You know what, we're gonna make Mulan a magical chi being. And it just ruined a lot about what made her great. The relatability and the depth of Mulan's character was so easily there in like the premise of her character alone. A young woman with adventurous, active, and creative traits, feeling limited by what her society will allow her to do as a woman. Inherently, that's a relatable character that you could very easily empathize with. She's already the underdog. You immediately understand her. But they just had to go out of their way to make her seem so unrelatable and inhuman. You know, I bet those Disney executives sat down and said, how the fuck do we make her less of a relatable character? I think they had a meeting for that. Introduction scenes. I want to point this out specifically just because it's so important how you're introduced to a character, because in a movie, that's the best chance you have at introducing the core aspects of the character that the audience needs to understand to make the movie work. Ariel's introduction is exploring a shipwreck to look for human artifacts and even fights a shark. Now, what does that tell you about Ariel? One, it tells you that she's adventurous, she's curious, and she wants to know about humans. She's also a quick thinker when she was fighting that shark. So it's good that it tells you about Ariel's capabilities. We know that she can fight a shark, for example. But even more importantly, from that scene tells you Ariel's desires. Just in that introduction scene, exploring a human shipwreck, we know that Ariel wants to know more about humanity and explore the human world. And even more perfectly in the scene before this, we see King Triton meeting with his daughters and Ariel's not there. She's a princess. This is an important meeting with a king, her father, and her siblings. But she's not there. She's exploring a human shipwreck. Immediately telling you that for Ariel, her desire to know more about humans excites her and is maybe even more important to her than being a mermaid or being princess, or, you know, even dare I say being with her family. Which, yeah, makes sense. She does give up her tail later on for legs to be in the human world. But with that introduction scene alone, with just that scene, we know a lot about Ariel. We know that she's adventurous, that she's curious, that she wants to know about humans, that she feels her desire for knowing more about the human world is more important than her being at a princess meeting with her father. And that's how we're going to relate to her and view her as the movie progresses. She's not just the mermaid, she's the mermaid who wants to be in the human world. Now for Mulan, she's introduced with a voiceover from her father telling us that she has chi, which is magic, and she's introduced chasing a chicken and using her chi skills to run around roofs and jump and do flips and stuff. And later on, her father tells her that she has to bring honor to the family. It's such a horrible introduction to the main character because what does that tell you? That she likes chasing chickens? That she has chi and magic, which, yeah, cool, I guess. That she's kind of vaguely sad that her father is telling her not to do that? But what does that tell you about her wants and desires. It kinda establishes that she's a spirited young girl in a society that is limiting her, but the visual language and where the film is choosing to focus on doesn't communicate that. This whole scene supposedly introducing Mulan establishes her father and mother and her society better than it establishes her.
No!
Tell me your sister is not the cause of this.
This scene and the dialogue that follows it after focuses more on how her father and her mother feel about her.
I ask you, what man will want to marry a girl who flits around rooftops chasing chickens?
They both want her to be normal and want her to not use her chi. Society, as shown in this film, also wants her to conform. But what about Mulan? What does she want? We see her enjoying doing those chi-related things, chasing the chicken, running around, but does she actually want that? Does she want to conform to society, to conform to what both her mom and dad want, or does she want to rebel and defy that? Mulan has chi. That makes her not belong. But does she want to belong, or does she feel like she doesn't want to? The introduction scene tells you her capabilities. She has chi, yes, but, not what she wants or desires in life. What she doesn't want. It's like if Little Mermaid only told you that Ariel is a mermaid, and just that. What if that was just that? Ariel's a mermaid, and nothing about her desires about the human world. What if that was just the introduction? It just makes a lot less of an impression. So Mulan has chi, and it's so weird because the next time we see Mulan, she's an adult, and all we know about her still is that she has chi. And it's so frustrating because Mulan's introduction in the animated movie has her feeding animals in a fun and creative way, showing you, she's intelligent and she's creative. It also shows she's writing down notes for things to say in the matchmaking ceremony, showing that this Mulan, despite her quirks and her eccentricities, she wants to fit in society because that's what her mom and dad want, and she wants to honor that. None of that is emphasized in the live action. Major character beats. Yeah, I know, the character introduction that I talked about before is a major character beat, but I just wanted to separate that from this because the live-action Mulan kind of just had, major character beats from the animated film. They're in the live action, but they just happen. Not with any emphasis or any emotion. They just happen. They just unravel. For example, the matchmaking scene. That was so important in the animated version, and when Mulan failed that, it felt like it had a lot of weight and emotional consequence. Going in, we knew Mulan wanted to do well in that. She sings it. She asks luck and help from her ancestors to do well in the matchmaking ceremony. We knew she wanted to honor her family and do her best. She even made notes on her hand, showing us, even though she wants to fit in, she's struggling to. Going into the scene, we know she wants to succeed, so when she fails, we feel some weight of that failure. That does not happen in the live-action version. The whole matchmaking scene kind of just, it takes place on screen, to put it gently. It's so rushed and barely explored, which is weird because it's so important to Mulan's character and what made her relatable. Everyone knows what it's like to just try to fit in, even though you feel different or inadequate. Everyone knows what it feels to be an outsider, struggling to live up to people's expectations of you, because we all know what it feels like to feel inadequate sometimes. But no, God forbid we let this character, this main character of our big budget film, be relatable. In the live action movie, we just don't have any sense of how Mulan feels about any of this. Going into the matchmaking scene, we have no idea if she wants to succeed or not. Maybe they were banking on us to just infer that, given we'd already seen the animated version of the movie. But no, adaptations don't work like that. Later on, we have Mulan choosing to go to war in her father's place, and again, it just happens. Barely even a minute. That scene was such an empowering and goosebump-inducing moment in the animated film. This was a young woman making a courageous choice that could have her killed to protect her father. I still remember the music, I can still feel the visuals, the thunder, all of it. The look on her face, on the blade's reflection, how she cut her hair, it was so powerful. In this live-action film, a major character beat that changes the trajectory of the main character's life and incites most of the plot, it just happens. You barely even realize it's happening and it's over. Imagine if Ariel going to Ursula, to trade her voice for human legs just happened like this. Hello, child. Hello, Ursula. Can I please have legs? Well, you're gonna have to give me your voice to have legs and be able to be in the human world. Okay, I will be giving you my voice. Right, thank you, but you're gonna have 3 days and you're gonna have to kiss a man, because if you don't do that, I'm gonna own your soul, okay? Thumbs up. Imagine if it just happened like that. Like, it just happened, and there's no big song, there's no amazing visuals or like music that's dramatic. Imagine if the character beat just again took place on screen. In conclusion, if you were going to be lazy about establishing Mulan's character, you could have just had her sing Reflection. You don't even need to do anything else. If you were gonna be lazy, you could have just done that. Reflection tells us so much about Mulan's character. Part of your world tells us so much about Ariel's. So, you know, you could have just had that. I'm not mad that the live action Mulan isn't a musical or that it isn't a faithful adaptation. It's just frustrating. There's already a fully realized version of the Mulan character, one you could have just copied and pasted and no one would have been mad, but you chose to somehow change it into this weird superpowered chi version. And I'm so happy we have Halle's Ariel, and I love her so much. I'm also happy we have animated Ariel and animated Mulan. Damn, live action Mulan could have been nice. And it's just such a shame. Also, at the end of all of this, I'm not even sure how I feel about live-action adaptations yet. On one end, animated movies are a valid medium of storytelling, and I hate how live-action versions are seen as more of a legitimizing stamp to animated movies. But on the other hand, it's giving me a chance to re-experience the animated thing that I love, and bringing new material to the world and the characters that I love. Like, Avatar: The Last Airbender is an amazing animated series that I love to rewatch all the time, and I don't think anything else can touch it. It's one of the best, not animated series, but one of the best series of all time. At the same time, I can't help but look forward to the live-action Netflix version, even though I don't have high hopes for that, because I just love the characters and I love the world, and I'm glad that I have a chance to experience them again in a new way, and I'm just like really hoping it turns out great. I just wish and hope that moving forward, these live-action adaptations are done with respect to the original and with as much attention and love that the fans have for them. That's all. And I just want to say I'm a small channel, so, you know, if you like this vid, please like or consider subscribing or commenting. Like this vid. What am I, 16? That's all. Bye.